Welcome to Fiery Discourse, your podcast and media featuring dragonesses, female dinosaurs, and other similar saurians and scalies. I'm your host, Ludmillanon, and with me are my co-hosts, Angron, Mathmachine, LuckyEevee, and Stryker. Today is our 52nd episode, and we're discussing the 1967 Gumby short, Dragon Daffy. So, let's get things started.
This will be interesting.
Art Clokey was the creator of Gumby, and this guy had one of the most amazing life stories that I have ever heard. I mean, what this guy went through before and after his most famous creation really is something else. He was originally born.
There's lots of drugs involved.
Yeah,
Oh,
we will
boy.
get to that. We will get to that after our discussion on the episode. He was originally born as Charles Faddington, but after the death of his father in the war, his mother he didn't like his mother's new boyfriend. So she did the only reasonable thing that a person would do at that time: sell him to an orphanage.
Oh.
Yeah. You could apparently do that in the past.
Well then.
Shish, I know. Well, he changed his name to Art Clokey, and he got interested in stop-motion animation. His first work was called Gumbasia, and it's kind of a spoof of Fantasia. It's various clay shapes moving and morphing into each other, and it's set to a jazz soundtrack. It's actually public domain, and it's like only 6 minutes. So if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. It really is amazing. Especially the fact that Clokey animated it all by himself.
That is very
Actually,
impressive.
that is impressive that he did it all by himself.
Indeed.
Yep. So this one short got him enough notice to where he made Gumby, and Gumby was an instant smash hit throughout the 1950s and 1960s. And because
despite its ugly baby phase, as it were.
Yeah, the first few shorts didn't really have the best of animation, but it still looked really good. And they added more characters, like of course Pokey, Prickle the dinosaur, and Goo the mermaid. And fun fact, Pokey and Prickle were voiced by Art Clokey himself.
Huh.
It's a really nice touch right there.
Interesting.
Gumby's the most famous voice actor for Gumby was Dallas McKennon, who did a lot of voice work for Disney, and he also did something that's very interesting. You know the stereotypical hyena laugh, the one that they used for Ripperoo and Crash?
He did
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Yeah, that was him. He did that, and it became a stock sound effect.
Yo,
Oh,
that's
nice.
awesome.
Nice.
I mean, that is so... Imagine doing that. You were the originator of a noise that became a stock sound effect. That is cool.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he did fricking the Hamburglar's voice.
Yeah. We'll have to
Hey,
see about that.
it's like with the Wilhelm scream.
Yeah,
Nice.
exactly. Exactly like that. And the thing is with Gumby that's interesting, being a claymation show, Gumby took an insane amount of time to make. After like a full day of work, they would be considered very lucky if they had like 20 seconds of usable footage with it. And the fact that
I didn't
Clokey...
realize how intense claymation is as a medium.
I
is
can imagine.
It takes a lot of skill with it. In fact,
Yeah.
it's like it's just mostly pictures, yes, but like imagine the time and effort you would have to put into making just 5 minutes of content.
Exactly.
Yeah, take a look at Leica,
Oh yeah, definitely.
and then take a look at
and
Gumby.
Will Vinton, who did the California Raisins and the Domino's Pizza Noid. He did the Mark Twain claymation movie. He was another great stop motion animator.
That one's another good movie.
That's pretty impressive. It's
the
also
thing is-
impressive.
Listen,
Yeah, stop motion ain't exactly an easy medium to get to really accomplish. Like you take a look at stuff like Ronkin Bass, and then you look at stuff like I don't know Gumby and Leica again, and just all that, and the difference is certainly night and day in terms of difficulty.
Exactly. And the thing is that was interesting is Clokey wasn't just doing one TV show, he was doing two, because he was also making, at the same time he was doing Gumby, he was doing Davy and Goliath, which is a show about a boy and his dog. And it was actually funded by the Unification Church, believe it or not. It was a more sedate show compared to Gumby, let's do it that way. It wasn't
It's a show that I watched growing up.
I didn't.
I didn't either. How was it, basically? Just curious.
It was basically just another Christian kids program, but
Yeah, and Art Clokey did that. Yeah.
it was pretty it was kind of special for its time, though. I will
Yeah,
say
yeah,
that.
especially
Okay.
again because it was stop motion at a time when stop motion was extremely rare on TV.
And
So
it's
now-
like
that.
Modern era.
the-
The cartoon Davy and Goliath, that was the inspiration for
moral oral. Yep.
Oh,
God,
right,
no.
right. I can see it now. Yeah,
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard some things about that show.
yeah. I don't know
The
if
show was
Clokey
great.
would. Yeah, I don't know if
Oh,
Clokey would have
man.
approved of it, but he did have a good sense of humor about other parodies of his work, which we'll talk about later. So maybe
Put
he
our
would
belief
have.
in put our belief in one person. That's right. Oh, that's right. David something or other. Or something like that.
Okay, so yep. Now let's talk about the episode in general. Dragon Daffy from 1967, 66 rather. So the
60s.
Yep. So the episode begins with Prickle heading to a soda shop. The soda jerk behind the counter basically tells him no dragons are allowed because they melt the ice cream. And considering the time period when this was made, this could have been an intentional, I don't want to say political message, but like an anti-discrimination message. Considering this was made around like 66, 67 and that.
makes sense,
Racism
and
certainly.
it
was that-
works.
Yeah,
Yes.
it does. It does. And despite the fact that Prickle claims that he's a dinosaur, the soda jerk basically laughs him off. And it's here we get to something that is very interesting about Gumby. The human characters on the show were very odd because some humans were like photorealistic, and others have a more stylistic look, like this guy who basically looks like an upside down cone.
He kind of looks a little bit like a soda bottle, a little bit. Kind
Yeah, and
of.
it could have been it very well could have been intentional too with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But, yeah, this
the
guy.
idea behind him is like
Yeah, definitely. And I think they actually reused this character in a couple of other episodes as well, and he's a jerk there too. So
Yeah, he's a full blown dick.
exactly.
yeah.
But yeah, speaking of that, with continuity, one thing that's interesting too about Gumby is the continuity of the show because although it had more continuity than a lot of 60s cartoons of the time, there was one thing with this episode that if you've seen other ones, it makes it a little confusing. Because here, Prickle is trying to claim that he's a dinosaur and not a dragon. In other episodes, Prickle claims that he's proud of his dragon heritage, and his brother turns out to be the dragon from the St. George story. So,
Oh, then.
yeah.
Hmm.
It was very interesting how, like, this episode, Prickle's saying, I'm not a dragon, I'm a dinosaur. And then in later
I'm not a
episodes, he's like,
dragon. I'm a dinosaur. It's
he goes like, I am
man,
proud
pick
to be
an
of my
identity.
dragon heritage.
or, just combine the two.
Yeah.
I feel like I was confused by that as a kid. Yeah.
They might have reused the model from an earlier episode, I guess.
Probably, yeah. who
Prickle
knows?
actually always kind of looked like that, to be honest. But yeah, the soda jerk then demands that Prickle proves that he's a dinosaur, not a dragon, and Prickle has no answer. So Prickle has to leave the soda shop, and he has to prove that he's a dragon, he's a dinosaur rather, and he comes up with an idea. We then cut to the toy shop where Gumby lives as Prickle shows up. He tells Gumby that he has to see his mother in Dinosaur Land. Sadly, there is no reference to this being a crossover with Super Mario World, although that would have been awesome.
Would have been, yeah.
Was anyone out of this time?
No,
It wasn't actually.
Definitely not. That Mario wouldn't exist for another 20 years after this cartoon came out.
Yeah, Super Mario World, Super Mario, Super Mario.
I mean,
I mean, you're not wrong.
There's a
probably
funny
would
joke.
have been fun to see Miyamoto make a Gumby inspired game.
I mean, there's
yeah.
Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. That
Technically,
technically
yeah.
counts.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
that
stop motion.
and the ads for Super Mario RPG.
That too. That's
Yeah.
the same piranha plays that.
So, we're not starved of stop motion when it comes to Nintendo for the most part.
Thankfully, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a really funny joke here where Prickle claimed that he needs to go to Dinosaur Land to get his birth certificate, which is just really, it's something that's like a blink and you miss it joke, and it actually does work. Prickle then warns Gumby about the Bullysaurus as Gumby walks into the dinosaur book, which is kind of Gumby's thing. What he could do is he could walk into any book, and that comes into play in a lot of the episodes. They would go into books and have all kinds of different adventures. Which
I think Gravity Falls kind of did a little bit of a spoof of this.
yeah, they did
Yeah.
in the
Goose.
episode with the claymation thing. Seuss shows up as a Gumby-like creature, and he says "Holy Toledo," which was Pokey's catchphrase.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's
And then they just straight up throw a book at his head. And oh, man.
yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that show was awesome.
Yeah. The one thing I think that's underrated about Gumby is how the backgrounds, and specifically how well made they are. Because a lot of it, the actual background is a drawing, but like the things he interacts with, like the bushes and the trees, are all actual props. And it must have taken a hell of a long time just to set this all up before
I'll
they even
bet.
start like the animation part of it.
Indeed. Kind of reminds me of the I Spy books, where like, oh, and also the Can You See What I See books. Like, it must have taken a really long time just to get it all set up, just to snap a few pictures. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
Exactly,
definitely. It has that kind of a similar feel to it, especially in like the toy shop scenes and that. So,
Indeed.
Gumby goes inside the dinosaur book, and as soon as he enters the book, the Bullysaurus comes out from behind a rock and decides to eat Gumby. The thing that's interesting about his design, you can actually see the fingerprints on him of like how he was molded in that. You can actually see like, thumbprints and, fingerprints on him, which is really, really cool, to actually see that, oh, right, this was actually molded by a human being. That is a really, really cool touch. The mixture of purple and white is really good because, again, he's made of clay. It's like you could tell how they did it, but yet the fact to actually see it move and to see it alive is really neat. And I believe the Bullysaurus dinosaur is also voiced by Art Clokey, so that's really cool.
Interesting.
The music during this part is actually royalty-free music that was used in a lot of B movies at the time. If you've seen like movies like Atomic Brain or the Attack of the Giant Leeches, this is the music from those movies that were used in this. And there's an interesting factoid about that we'll talk about after this episode that kind of correlates to the music tracks they used in Gumby at this time.
Yeah, I mean, if an animated short where like it's Game Grumps animated, but it's quote unquote claymation can do this, then yeah, it's pretty bizarre.
Yeah, exactly. So the Bullysaurus eats Gumby before promptly spitting him out, which causes Gumby to smack against a tree. And again, this is really, really complex animation. I mean, it's not like Leica level of animation, but compared to like a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, that actually has a lot less movement than this. This is really impressive.
Indeed, and that is arguably one of the most classic examples of stop motion you can get.
Exactly.
I mean, comparing anything to a Rankin Bass production is kind of setting the bar really low, because as far as stop motion is concerned, theirs are a lot more stop than they are motion.
True that.
Honestly, yeah, there was barely any animation.
That is true. When you think about it, that is very true compared to like stuff even like Gumby, which is being made at the same time. That is very, very true.
I mean, it still managed to get across some very interesting things for the most part. So I wouldn't definitely lost the cause.
Exactly. So he basically says that Gumby doesn't taste good, and he threatens to attack him. He does like this weird movement with his arms, waving them back and forth in a kind of comical way. I think the reason they did it was just that they could actually have animation at this time. But then we get to see a much larger dinosaur appear, which causes him to nervously grin and run away. Something that's really neat about it is that the eye of the Bullysaurus is just like a bead in the middle of like white clay. But the way it moves around, it feels so natural. It's almost like something like, an arts and crafts thing almost, you would say. But the way they just do it,
it
really has such a really cool vibe in that. So the larger dinosaur turns out to be Prickle's mother, which is the reason why we're covering this episode. I like it. I do like how Prickle's mother, her design is exactly the same as Prickle, but much larger and with long eyelashes. Which, I mean, okay, Yeah, they reused the model. Why not? Instead of making a whole new dinosaur model, just reuse one, make it look slightly larger, and put eyelashes on it, and boom, it's Prickle's mom. Her voice reminds me a little bit of Gundamar from Lost in Space, the Questing Beast, the episode we previously reviewed on this podcast.
I can see what you mean with that.
It was not June Foray because I don't think Gumby ever got a voice actor with that level of notoriety on there. At least compared
that
to
makes sense.
Yeah. But it definitely sounds like she's trying to do like a June Foray type of voice.
Yeah. Very much so, yeah.
Yeah. And it's here where Gumby basically tells Prickle's mother what happens as the short fades to black, which, again, probably is a way to save on animation because, again, it's like at least 3 to 5 seconds where they don't have to animate a thing. So, that definitely saves time, especially on a show that's as time-consuming as Gumby. We then cut back to the We then come back to the ice cream parlor with Gumby, Prickle, and Prickle's mother's there. And it's here we get to just really see the size of Prickle's mother. She is easily 3 to 4 times the size of her son. And seeing her model with like Gumby and Prickle's model, it really is. You really wonder how big did they make this clay model? If they use like forced perspective, or if they really just use like a larger scale model of her compared to the Pokey and the Gumby and the Prickle model.
Yeah, I'll bet.
So Prickle then goes inside once again, and the soda jerk tells him off. In the middle of his tirade, Prickle's mother ducks her head in the door, and she tells him off in a pretty fun moment.
Yeah.
The soda jerk... I'm sorry. And again...
Yes.
Again, part of it's the animation, too. Just the way they talk. There's some of that feels very satisfying about it, almost.
Yeah, indeed. It's also funny. Like, another thing I want to mention, the fact that they just freaking run. The fact that they're running just like feels like supersonic. Like they go from like one spot to the next in like a really fast way, and like I'm just thinking like, how difficult must it be to travel there? How used to those G-forces must those people be? Like you just can't take a step. Like a normal person would just take a step there and like.
Yeah, exactly.
Funny to think about.
The Gumby world has a lot of weird things. I'm sure they are very, very used to it. So, Prickle and his mother talk about how the soda jerk was scared off. And one thing is that they talk about this, but the show does a close-up on Gumby's face, which again feels like another attempt to save on animation so they wouldn't have to animate Prickle and his mother talking to each other. And the episode ends with Prickle saying, "We better eat all the ice cream before a dragon comes along and melts it," which is, wow, okay, Prickle, you learned about discrimination, but then you do discrimination? Not cool.
Oh, yeah, hypocrite much?
That's the 60s.
Yeah.
Yep,
Then they all
the 60s. Back then we had 7 Arts and frickin' Hanna-Barbera. Also
Yeah,
Star Trek,
but yeah, the episode ends with them all laughing, as most Gumby episodes usually did, and we get the Art Clokey production title card, which has all 4 of the characters there, which always was a nice little touch. Yep. And it's here where we're finished talking about the episode, but we're not done talking about Gumby just yet, because there is a lot more things to talk about with him after, believe it or not, this short and Gumby in general. So Gumby would last for maybe 2 more years in the 60s until Clokey seemingly vanished off the face of the earth with this and a Davy and Goliath ending. Now, it's a cliche to say that if someone was creative, oh, they probably did it while they were on drugs. Like, oh, the animators on Fantasia, they must have been on drugs. Jim Henson must have been on drugs when he was doing Fraggle Rock, even though, neither of those are true. In Art Clokey's case, however, that you might have a bit more of a point, because what happened to him, why he vanished, is because in the late 1960s, he decided to basically give up his entire life, and he became an acid guru.
Oh,
he would tour the United States with a bunch of hippies and Timothy Leary, the guy who invented LSD, and they would just do like free love sit-ins and things like that. And Yeah, no, he actually literally vanished off the face of the earth, and he was just doing this for about like almost a decade's worth. And in the 1970s, he actually got himself clean. He sobered up, and he converted to Hinduism of all
That's
religions, which is
interesting.
interesting. And
Oh.
so in the 70s, he didn't really do much in terms of animation in that with either David and Goliath or Gumby. Then something very interesting happened that actually brought Gumby's popularity back. In the 1980s, Gumby started becoming popular again because of the show Saturday Night Live. Eddie Murphy did a sketch where he played Gumby as like a washed up, comedian. I'm Gumby, damn it. That was like the
I
catchphrase.
remember that. I was going to mention that
Yeah,
because
Clokey.
all afternoon, my mom was actually referencing that.
Oh god. Oh man,
apparently-
that sounds wild.
Yeah, apparently Art Clokey thought that was so hilarious that he was actually inspired to make new Gumby. For the first time in like 20 plus years, he actually made more Gumby. He got more animators to work on it, and he still worked on the animation as well. And then that was interesting about Gumby with the 1980s show, which I believe was called Gumby Adventures. It had an actual title. Is that it actually consisted of a new short, or maybe two new shorts and one old short. But the old short was redubbed with synthesizer music and new voices. The reason they did this was because of the aforementioned music tracks. Because apparently Clokey couldn't get the rights to reuse the tracks. He just decided to just redo the episodes, and instead you have like an episode from the 1960s that you have like 80s synthesizer, wow, 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 in the background. It's very, very weird, to say the least.
I'll bet.
One other thing that's interesting about Gumby in the 80s was the animators who worked on it. Two of the people who worked on it, well, there were a lot of animators who would later go and work for Pixar that worked on the Gumby 80s show.
Well then.
But two people who I think are the most interesting ones was one Mr. Henry Selick, aka the animator behind Nightmare Before Christmas and also Coraline.
Nice.
Yep, he worked on Gumby, and he actually became a very close personal friend of Art Clokey's. Another person who worked on Gumby, believe it or not, and as an animator, and actually a scriptwriter, he wrote some episodes, was John R. Dilworth, creator of Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Yeah.
I can have some
Interesting.
inspiration there.
Yeah, and the thing that's really
Actually, yes.
amazing about the 80s Gumby show is because they had more animators, they could go really all out with the animation. They had some episodes where they had no dialogue, and it was just like a pure Tex Avery style madness. Imagine trying to animate a Tex Avery style wild take in clay.
Well then.
Aw.
And the fact that they do it and it looks so amazing. I mean, if you want to watch Gumby, the 1980s episodes are definitely they're all sorry, Tundra's there. They're all probably worth checking out. But I feel like the 1980s version of Gumby was probably one of the best ones, and the fact that they got the character dynamics down all pretty pat. They had some really fun stories, and let's say the silent shorts with like no dialogue, and it's just like whatever weirdness Art Clokey and wanted to do is really, really something else. Yeah, it really is something to behold.
Mm.
And
Probably a reason that Gumby is still remembered, at least among older millennials like myself. It was one of the 12 shows that was shown on early Cartoon Network all the time.
Oh, that's interesting.
I did not know that. That
Oh.
is neat. That
if you
is
were a
really,
kid
really cool.
on Cartoon Network in the early 90s, you saw Gumby everywhere. So that's why it's known among old hats like myself.
I
I see.
unfortunately did not grow up in the early 90s. It was more like late 90s, early 2000s.
Same.
But I was, in fact, familiar with Gumby.
Yeah, I've always knew of him, but I didn't really see much of the shorts until COVID, because I had him on YouTube. I got curious and watched him, and I was just like transfixed by him because of how well made they are. They really are something that is just like, and I'll get to more about my opinions of Gumby in a little bit, but it really is something that's just one of a kind,
Yeah.
But yeah, Gumby was so popular, he actually got a movie creatively called Gumby the Movie. It apparently was finished in 1990, but it was actually not released until 1996, and it was distributed by Warner Brothers, but I use the word distributed in an extremely loose sense because they only released it in like 6 theaters, so it made almost no money, despite the fact that it is a really fun film. You know, it really, really is. It's not, like I say, it's not anywhere like an all-time classic animated movie, but if you want to see a movie with Gumby in it, it really does a good job, I think. It has they didn't compromise any of the weirdness.
And that's to go to prove that WB having a movie and then not wanting to spread it around is not a recent thing.
Oh no, it's far from it. They have done that for years and years and years. But after that, Gumby kind of only appeared sporadically on like TV commercials or like maybe bumpers or specials and things like that. Clokey continued to animate him though. He even did like a documentary called Gumby Dharma or something like that, which is a documentary about Art Clokey and Gumby. And Clokey himself actually contributed the animation of like Gumby and Pokey in it. So and he did it his whole life too, which is amazing. Even at like Gumby's 50th anniversary special in 2007, he actually showed up and he did some animation. I say this because the Gumby 50th anniversary special is lost media. It apparently had Smash Mouth doing a cover of the Gumby theme song, so that sadly is lost to the ether.
Yeah, rip the voice.
I'm not sure if I want that to be found.
Too.
Yeah.
That is mid 2000s as fuck.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I want that to be found.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to see if it's, you know.
Yeah. But after Clokey's death in 2010, excuse me, nothing has really been done with Gumby aside from a 4-part comic book miniseries and a children's book called Gumby Goes to the Sun. Now, you think that it'd be an educational picture book about Gumby visiting the planets in the sun, but it starts off like that. Then Gumby goes inside of the sun, and there's a whole mythical kingdom there. And when I read that, I was like, well, they got it. They still got that, complete weirdness that Gumby had.
Yep.
Art Clokey's son was working on a project with the animators from Robot Chicken before his own passing. I think in 2021 he passed away. I believe so. I'll have to fact check me on that. But
it actually makes sense that he did work with them, to be honest.
Yeah,
like
they're working on a new Gumby thing. Apparently, Amazon was interested, but it didn't take. Now Gumby is owned by Fox, not Disney, but the Fox Corporation that still exists. So we'll have to see if anything comes out of it. And I don't know if I want to, because on one hand, I mean, Gumby was Art Clokey's vision. It was his creation. He did what he wanted to do with it. He didn't have any studio executives breathing down his neck to make things more relatable or to get rid of things or put some other things in. He just did what he wanted and whatever he thought would be cool, and I really respect that. Plus,
not bad.
Part of the other problem is stop motion is incredibly time-consuming and costly animation, especially in this era of CGI. And let's put it this way: CGI Gumby would completely kill all of the appeal.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, unless devil's advocate here, you decide to do what you did, what some studios did with like Spider-Verse, with TMNT Mutant Mayhem, that sort of thing, and have it be like a sort of stop motion spoof, if you will, like nothing too fluid or something like that, but. You get where I'm going with this, right?
Oh, definitely, 100%, I get where you're going with this. But
it's why
go ahead.
Yeah, it's why something like the Lego Movie works in that regard, because it's CG, but it's done in such a very stylized stop motion like way. You know,
if there's a way that they could do something like that with Gumby, that would be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't know if that's going to happen, and it's a shame because these characters and this world that Art Clokey made, I mean, this was absolutely amazing. This wasn't like to sell toys. This wasn't to like a studio executive's, pet project and that. This was just one animator and his vision, his weird as hell vision, and he made it, and he did what he loved. And like I say, I feel Art Clokey should be mentioned in the same breath as like Jim Henson and Walt Disney sometimes. And the fact that he was a guy who just did whatever he wanted, and he was happy with it.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah. But again, I really hope that Gumby eventually gets something new just so he's not completely forgotten. And I do feel that people know him, even if they've never seen a short. They know of Gumby, they know of Pokey, they know of the whole setup, basically.
Yeah, I'll bet.
I mean, at the
So,
very
yeah,
least, if you don't put Clokey in the same vein as Henson or Disney, you absolutely need to put him in the same vein as Harryhausen or Selick.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, Willis O'Brien, even like, Will Vinton, those type of guys. He really was a guy who completely revolutionized animation, and again, for the better.
I'll bet.
Yep. So now it is time for the question of the week, which is, what is your favorite stop motion work? And this could be stop motion in terms of like movies, cartoons, sections of movies, and things like that.
And also, what about games?
Games too. Yep.
Nice.
Now I'm gonna go first, and I'm such a huge nerd of these movies, so forgive me if this is an obvious choice. My favorite stop motion of all time is really tied between Jason and the Argonauts and the original Clash of the Titans. Not the remake,
Nice.
which was absolute garbage. Just a little tangent here. One thing I really annoyed me about the 2010 remake was the part where they look through the box and they find like Bubo and the mechanical owl, and Percy's like, leave that, it is of no use to us. It's like, you wish you were as creative as the 1981 version of Clash of the Titans.
I've seen that movie. It was fun.
Oh, it's great. Yeah. The 81 version is fantastic.
I'll have to take a look at that sometime.
But yeah, no, Jason the Argonauts, of course, everyone remembers the big skeleton fight at the end, as they should, because it is absolute badass. But
Harryhausen.
Yeah, Harryhausen just so amazing. I mean, there's the part with Talos, which, I'm going to be honest, probably after King Kong is the most awesome stop motion monster ever. Just how he moves, how he's so antagonizing to them. The harpies are really cool as well. And in Clash of the Titans, let's not forget Medusa, which actually popularized the creature to begin with, was in that movie. The Kraken, which again, absolutely amazing bit of stop motion there.
I'll bet.
Yeah, those are my favorites. And another one that's a cliche has to be the work of Willis O'Brien. Willis O'Brien, of course, did the original King Kong, which you obviously know is an absolute classic. I mean, right there, that is just so. I mean, King Kong is over 90 years old, and don't worry, we will get to the original King Kong and the 2005 version on this podcast. Just keep your ears listened for that. We are going to get to those one day, but that is just so amazing. He did Son of Kong, which, believe it or not, was filmed the same year, and yet it still looks amazing. Little Kong's fight with the giant snake is really good. He did Mighty Joe Young, which was kind of a, I guess, parody of King Kong spin-off. It's a really unusual movie, but it's a good one. One movie he did that it doesn't get a lot of credit, but it's one that I feel has really good animation, is called The Black Scorpion. It was made in the 1950s. I think it was O'Brien, one of his last movies. It's what the story is. A bunch of giant scorpions crawl out of a volcano in Mexico and start wreaking havoc. These things are amazing. Again, for 1950, it's not on the level of, say, like what Harryhausen was doing, but the fact is, the stop-motion scorpions in this movie, they look absolutely amazing, especially the part at the end where they destroy a train. I'd say it's almost as good as the part in King Kong where Kong picks up the subway and starts smashing it. It really is a really good movie. And fun fact, he actually reused parts of the spider pit sequence from King Kong. If you don't know, the spider pit sequence was going to be in the original King Kong. When the men fall off the log that King Kong shakes, they were going to survive but be attacked by giant bugs and spiders. This was cut out of the movie because apparently it was either too frightening or it made the movie too long, depending on who you talk to. It's never really confirmed why it was cut out. But
Yeah.
regardless, pieces of that footage was reused in this, in the part where the main scientist and his assistant are going down to the volcano. Some of the pieces of it are actually footage from that deleted spider pit sequence. So it really, really is cool. But yeah, forgive me for being a pedestrian with my answers with like Harryhausen and Willis O'Brien, but they are just so legendary and they are phenomenal, both of them.
I'll bet. Yeah. Honestly, like I hear like the giant scorpions thing, and I'm just like, at least it's original.
Yeah, it was, and like I say, it's not the best movie because the story itself is not the best, and nor is the acting. But you're not really there for it. You're there for Willis O'Brien's effects, and those are phenomenal. And if you haven't seen it, check it out. I don't know if it's readily available. I'd hope it is, but we'll have to see about that. But yeah, those are my picks. Clash of the Titans, Jason and the Argonauts, Willis O'Brien's works, which is King Kong, Son of Kong, Mighty Joe Young, and the Black Scorpion. Those are my choices for my favorite pieces of stop motion animation. So, Angron, what would you have to say?
Oh, boy, buckle up. So, I could easily say some of Rudolph's later works for the most part. I could also say potentially the Lego Movie or Into the Spider-Verse. I could also say, oh gosh, what's another good one? I could say one of the Leica films. I could say that one short. Excuse me. That that one Star Wars Vision short that was made by Triggerfish Studios, or was it? I forget the actual name, but it's the short where like it's all stop motion and it's these cute little things. It's like it's just so cute. Instead, I am going to say something that I doubt a lot of people would really know about, and honestly, it's something that even that DreamWorks doesn't really talk about anymore for some weird reason.
Oh?
I am, of course, referring to the two video game series. I'm, of course, talking about a video game series that was made by DreamWorks ages ago in the 1990s and has never gotten any attention since, outside of maybe like a spiritual successor, which I'm not going to talk about because it was kind of annoying. But anyways, I present to you the Neverhood Chronicles. And Skull Monkeys.
The Neverhood. I actually know that.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I've heard of it. I've never actually played it, to be honest.
Me neither. I've seen a long play of it, and man, it kind of looks bizarre.
It is quite bizarre. I've never actually played it, but I've seen some gameplay of it, and it actually, yeah, I can actually say that it would have frightened me as a kid.
Oh, I'll bet. But
It
that's
is
not the
wild,
weird. That's
man.
not just the weird thing about it. The weird thing about it, this thing has a full-on lore to it, like in depth, hands down. Like, oh my gosh, not just the backstory of it, of like freaking Hoborg coming down, creating everything, and deciding to make life and whatnot, yada yada yada. There is like legit more to it than meets the eye, and it is very, very odd to say the least. Be that as it may, however, DreamWorks to this day still doesn't talk about it. It's something. It's one of their earliest. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it was their first ever video game, considering the other video games that came out later, like stuff like, let me think here, Shrek, stuff like Dragon, stuff like freaking Madagascar, the Toys for Bob game especially. Just this predates all of them, hands down. And man, it is just so stylish. Like, this is one of the first games ever to be made using pure stop motion, hands down. Like, do you know how rare a stop motion video game like that is? To date, there are only like 4 or 5 games that I know of that use legit stop motion. Kirby and the Rainbow
we're not
Curse being one of them, and Neverhood being one of them as well.
And we're not talking just a little bit of stop motion here and there. every single movement, every single scene, everything that you can interact with in this world is stop motion. It's all claymation.
That is
Absolutely.
amazing. That is so awesome.
And even Skull. Oh, you want effort though? Take a look at Skull Monkeys, man. It is a 2D platformer, and good lordy, it is so. You would not think that from looking at it. It's fluid, it's fast, like it is a huge step up, all things considered, from Neverhood Chronicles, and I'm surprised not a whole lot of people talk about them anymore because they're really amazing games, and if anything, they deserve to be remastered because someone decided to use Unreal Engine 4 or something like that to redesign the opening to the Neverhood Chronicles, and it looked amazing. I'm really sad that the person who did that didn't do anything beyond that because I very, very much want to see a remaster of that get on Steam or something because man, the Neverhood is amazing. It's a little bizarre. It's a little derivative of a few other things, but honestly, I do want to see it get more love nowadays. You know?
Definitely. I definitely have to agree with you there, especially with how amazing and how much effort was put into this. You know, it really is something else.
Yeah, very much so.
That
Anyway,
is
that's
an
my pick.
awesome choice right there. So, Stryker, what would you have to pick?
Well, when I was growing up, I actually grew up with quite a few claymation movies. In fact,
I wouldn't be surprised if
one
Chicken Run was one of them.
actually that was the first.
Yeah, Aardman.
yeah,
How
that
do you
was
forget about them.
Chicken Run was literally the first claymation movie I ever saw, and
Same.
like I have it on VHS still. Actually,
Nice.
like
Good art.
I still remember that my mom got me and my sister VHSs one like as a surprise one day, and that was the one she got for me.
It reminded me of that one quote from. It's reminded me of that one scene from South Park where they're like talking about like the console wars, and then Stan brings up, "This will be like what Betamax was to VHS." What's Betamax exactly? What's VHS?
Hey, I also did grow up with a few Betamax, but it was just like home videos, you know.
Nice.
Great
Yeah.
lead.
Yeah, I
But
also
yeah.
grew up a bit with the Wallace and Gromit movie. That was pretty interesting.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, Curse of the Were Rabbit. Yeah,
That was the one that I had. But no, my choice is actually something that inspired a movie, a CGI movie. In fact, it was a. This movie holds a special place in my heart. 9.
Oh,
Yes,
Yeah, that was really
yes.
good.
9 was amazing.
Wait,
Nine is a fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it, see it. Wow.
I'm talking about the student film that inspired the movie.
Sorry. All right. Sorry about that.
okay. I'm
While
listening.
the movie was in CGI, the student film was in claymation.
Yep.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
What was the student film called?
it was just called 9, just like the movie.
Ah,
It was it was a claymation. It was just a short film made by the creator of the film, and just it was a lot different than the actual movie itself. While I haven't seen it myself, I know I've seen the actual movie, and it still is like amazing.
I okay. I think I know what you're talking about with the short film, but I don't believe that is stop motion. I could be wrong.
Oh no, it was I actually remember it, I thought at least. If not, then
no.
I'm going
No.
with if not, then yeah, I'm just going with Chicken Run because that was a hot topic recently because of the sequel on Netflix.
Nice.
I haven't seen the
Okay.
sequel yet. I don't know
haven't
how it
either.
is.
All right, yeah, my choice is either 9 or Chicken Run.
Nice.
Okay.
Both those are great. Yeah. So, Math, what would you have to say is your favorite piece of stop motion animation?
Me being the weird animation guy, I wanted to go with something obscure like The Adventures of Mark Twain. Everyone knows that one. That's the one with claymation Mark Twain and that one death mask dude. That's what
Oh,
everyone
yes, yo.
that
I'm
nightmare
an
fuel.
angel. My name
Uh,
is Satan.
I remember that. I can't
Yes.
forget Satan.
I mean, he's
Uh,
not wrong, but at the same time,
Yeah,
I-
yeah.
It was that was
or-
actually unsettling. Even though I've seen
Yes.
that one scene so many times online, I just know it's fucking unsettling.
I'll bet.
Great movie. Really disturbing nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
Or I wanted to go with something high art like Kubo and the Two Strings from Laika.
Nice.
But I'd be lying to myself if I didn't go with what is my absolute favorite stop motion film and probably in my top 10 movies of all time, Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh,
Yes,
absolutely.
classic.
I fucking
absolute classic.
almost forgot about Nightmare Before Christmas.
Absolute classic.
I didn't
as
forget
much
about
as
Nightmare Before Christmas.
As
I
much
grew
as
up with Tim Burton movies,
same,
actually.
same. As much as Coraline is the better movie, I'm sorry, I gotta agree with you there. I think Nightmare Before Christmas is the best thing Henry Selick has ever done. It really
Oh, yeah.
is like his masterpiece.
Oh yeah,
I am dead. I can take off my head.
to
Classic,
recite
classic.
Shakespearean
Yeah,
quotations.
Absolute
Exactly.
classic right there. I mean, we could do the whole movie right here if we wanted to, but we'll spare you that.
It's
That would be a very
genius
interesting take, but
combination.
nah.
It's the genius combination of Selleck and Burton, both in their primes.
Yes,
Absolutely.
You can absolutely
Annie
see
Elfman,
that they
too.
needed each other in
Ooh.
that because you saw Corpse Bride when Burton was on his own, and you saw Coraline when Selleck was on his own. Both good movies in their own right, but they just don't quite hold up to Nightmare Before Christmas.
More or less. I mean, Coraline, for the most part, had a little bit of an edge over freaking Nightmare Before Christmas. But yeah, I do agree. For the most part. Anyways.
Iconic characters, iconic voices, iconic songs. Movies still shown in theaters around Halloween just about every year these days. They love
Man.
re-releasing that. It's the
Miss-
Hot Topic staple for 30
Yeah.
years.
Oh yeah. Anything,
Man.
it's like anything goes at Hot Topic.
I'll bet.
My
Yeah.
mother is obsessed with that movie.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, nice. She has very good taste in that case.
To the
Oh,
point
bet.
where she's decorated a whole bathroom in it.
Yeah.
Odd choice, but okay.
Wow, nice. I would definitely like to see pictures.
Really?
Talk
Ugly,
I mean, there's
Yeah.
obsession, and then there's that, you know?
Yeah, I would definitely like pictures of that.
Oh, man. An entire
Yeah.
bathroom filled. I would probably not. I wouldn't
I'm-
even step
I'm
foot
going
in
to
there.
her place. I'm going to her place Saturday for manual labor. So
Oh
I'll
god!
take
Just
pictures
don't
of
go into. If I went into a bathroom like that, I would immediately just like turn around and be like, "Hey, do you know what a guest bathroom is?"
Oh, don't worry. They have a guest bathroom. It's not nearly as scarish.
Oh wow,
And
this has
then-
got to be one of the most fun things that we've ever discovered on this podcast. That sounds absolutely amazing. I would like to see pictures of this.
And then it still makes me laugh that Disney thought this was too scary and put it through Touchstone.
Yeah.
And now this has become a Disney staple.
Oh, it
throughout
is.
the
I mean,
last
they
30
do
years
everything
because
with
this
this
has
now.
been so popular.
Indeed.
I feel like nowadays Disney is more than ever proud to release it under their own label. I mean, they have a Jack Skellington shows up in all the theme parks. In some parks now in Disneyland in California, they make the Haunted Mansion into a Nightmare Before Christmas ride for Christmas, which is a
I
really
remember
cool
that,
touch.
and I
Level
still
from
need
Kingdom
to do
Hearts
that.
1 and 2.
Yeah,
That
that's
too,
pretty
yeah.
impressive.
I feel like I say, Disney now is more open than ever to a Nightmare Before Christmas. And apparently for years, they kept trying to have Burton help them make sequels, but to Burton's credit, he's turned them down every time, saying that he feels like the story is finished. So I give him props for that.
Yeah.
I mean, you did have Oogie's Revenge, that video game.
Yeah.
Is that a prequel, I thought? Or
No,
Oh,
that
no,
was
it
a
is a sequel, right?
sequel game.
all right, the sequel, right.
I would assume because the word Revenge is a sequel.
Right. Well, sorry about that. Sorry about that. It's just,
Oh man, it's all. Oh god. Ugh. Blah. They also
yeah,
Henry Selick will also go on to do a freaking Netflix film with like those two demons. I forget its name, but
Mad God, I think,
Wendy
right?
and
Oh,
Wendy and
Mad
Wild.
God!
Yeah.
That's a Shudder film, actually.
Ooh, okay. That sounds really interesting.
Ooh.
I've
Yeah,
heard of it. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I've seen videos on it, and it is fucking weird.
Sorry,
It even can
Wendell
be
and
kind of
Wild.
disturbing at parts.
Indeed.
Nice. That
It's
is
got Key
awesome.
Peele in it, so it's automatically good.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That is
Oh, yeah.
amazing.
Anyways,
Nice. So yeah, LuckyEevee, what would you say your favorite bit of stop motion animation is?
I haven't watched it yet, but it's high priority. Pokemon Concierge.
I have
yeah.
not seen either. I want to check it
I
out too. I've heard good things about it.
I've gotten started. It looks pretty good so far, but yeah, I still need to. I still need
It
to
is
see
a
it
really
fully.
good, comfy series.
Yeah. You want Pokemon being Pokemon? Pokemon Concierge.
Nice. I mean, it's like the Pikachu short series we always wanted, but we never got until now.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Exactly.
It's
So-
this genre in Japan. It's literally just people relaxing or having calm things happen. That is actually a genre of manga and anime because of just how workaholic Japan is. And
Oh, I'll
this
bet.
this is a series that takes from that genre, and it shows.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
anything I guess anything to relax.
Yeah. But hey, no, I definitely want to check that out too, and I'm really glad that Pokemon is being more open to new and unique styles of animation like that.
Oh yeah. Same actually.
Yeah, it really is good when a company like that decides, hey, you know what? Let's go a little bit creative here. So that is a great choice right there. Jordan has not written to me yet what her favorite thing is, but she has written to me what ranking she will give Prickle's mother. So now it is time to get to the patent pending Dragoness Scale, and we're reviewing Prickle's mother today. Now she only appeared in this one episode. Strangely enough, it's surprising that she never appeared in literally anything else ever again.
And
They
guess
probably
maybe
just could
under-
never figure out a way to incorporate her again.
Maybe,
Yeah,
or
speaking
maybe
of
by the time they did the 80s series, they lost the model of her, and they didn't want to have to make a new one because again, clay, it's not very durable.
Yeah, speaking of lost clay media, or at the very least underused clay media.
Yep. So yeah. As for Prickle's mother, it's very interesting because she's not really a character, but yet she has a lot of personality. And again, for a short that is less than 5 minutes long, and yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have gotten this much content out of a 4.5 minute long short film. So
Yeah.
that tells you
We
something.
like
But
to
yeah,
talk. Can you tell?
yeah, exactly. But hey, that's why it works. But anyway, Prickle's mother, I'm gonna give her. It might be a little bit too high of a score, but I really think I'm gonna give her 7 out of 10. Just because for the time that she was on screen, the ratio of the length of the short compared to the length of her appearance, the fact that we did get some personality out of her, the fact that even though her design is just Prickle, they did some details to make it their own, and her voice definitely is a big boon to her as well. I got to give her a 7 out of 10. I can't give her higher because, again, she doesn't have that much screen time or that much personality. But yeah, that is the score that I'm going to give her, 7 out of 10.
I'm gonna give her the same, honestly. Like, I agree with everything you're saying, but yeah, what really ultimately hurts her is not only the length of the short, but the fact she isn't exactly given too much more time outside of this one thing. And like with the Neverhood, it isn't really given that much love, and that's a real shame because I would love to see more from this character and like have Prickle's family be a little more fleshed out as well. So yeah, I'm also gonna give her a 7 out of 10.
Nice. So, Stryker, what would you have to say?
Uh You know what? I think I may have to agree with you on this. Lud.
Angron.
I'm going
Yeah.
with 7 out of 10.
Ah,
7 out of
nice.
train. 7 out of 10 train. Choo
All
choo.
right. Wow. Keep it going. Well, it probably won't last the whole thing, but we'll see how long it can last.
No, well, that's the
Right.
thing.
Math, what would you have to give her?
Choo choo.
Yeah.
I gotta go 7 as well because, and it's basically 1-to-1 with what Lud said. By all measures and by the normal standard I hold these characters to, this is way too high. But there's just something that really worked with this character that I can't quite explain. The design is incredibly simple, and it's literally just what if Pickle but bigger, and yet it works. I don't know why, but it works. I think in large part due to the voice actress. She sells
Yeah.
the character and the animation that's used. Obviously, it's Clokey, so it's great. So it just the combination of the two make the character work in a way that by any measure shouldn't. And she's just really sweet, and I like the character as she's presented for even as little as she's presented. The reason it's a 7 is because, well, there's not much of her, and in the grand scheme of things, all it is Igleashered.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Evie, what would you have to say?
I'd say 5 out of 10.
Okay.
Derailed.
Yep. Well,
You
it's gonna be
know,
derailed anyway, but
I know, like she's just Pickle's model, but bigger.
And
But
with
the only reason
eyelashes.
I know of her, but the only reason I know what she looks like is because of this meme I found.
let me see. Oh, no, I gotta check this out. Oh my
that
god.
too.
Okay. That is funny as hell right there.
Oh,
For those of you who can't, see it because
So
this is an
much.
audio-only podcast, it says me showing my mom a funny meme, my mom, and then it's Prickle's mother staring at a piece of paper with a confused look. That is
That's like
hilarious
a
right
retard.
there.
She just looks at it and squints.
And
definitely
squints
a
like, what
redraw.
the hell am I looking at?
It's definitely a
Oh,
redraw of
man.
another meme. I think it might be Winnie the Pooh, actually.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think it
who
might be that
knows?
one Winnie the Pooh looking meme.
Yeah. It
Oh, man.
really is hysterical. But yeah, no,
Oh yeah, I
that's a
found
good
the
choice, I
exact. I found the exact base too.
Oh.
guess.
Yep.
Yeah, it's based on the Winnie the Pooh one, but that's a nice one too.
You can tell
Yeah.
by the
Yep,
background.
that's what it's based
Yeah.
on. That's what
Nice,
it's
nice.
based on.
And even though Jordan is not on this episode, she has decided to help us with the Dragoness ranking. She is giving Prickle's mother a 6, and her reasoning is it's cute that Gumby tries to help a friend, and she likes Prickle's mother's design, so that's good. Yeah.
Total derail.
Yeah. Oh well. So, if you have any questions, or if you want to hear about what other weirdness we could dig up about Art Clokey, feel free to email us at fierydiscourse@outlook.com or visit us on Twitter at twitter.com/fierydiscourse. Next time is our first year anniversary, and to celebrate, we're going to be discussing the 1975 Hong Kong movie, The Super Inframan. If you haven't seen this or heard of it, you are in for a treat. This movie
Buckle up,
is
bitch.
definitely one of a kind. It's something that you will never get anywhere else, and we are going to have so much fun talking about that. But we hope that you enjoyed this episode this week too. And until then, thank you guys so much for listening, and take care.
Laters.
Adios.